But we're going to talk about JavaScript today and some, I guess, hidden dangers in JavaScript. Specifically about several relatively new additions to JavaScript. Most of them were added with HTML5. We're going to talk about Sandbox and how, if you're not careful, you can actually break Sandbox and allow JavaScript to break out of the Sandbox. We're going to talk about how a very simple cross-site scripting attack on a page can be used to kind of hijack the entire website, all other pages on the website. We're going to talk about dangers of putting business logic on the client side. People like to do that. It's efficient, but there are some downsides to that. And we're going to have we're going to show a little game of social engineering. So tricking users into allowing access to camera and location, etc. Right, HTML5. Everybody familiar with HTML5, right? Released a few years ago. Allows rich applications. Everybody loves it. Great additions to JavaScript. Right? 153 of Fortune 500 companies use it, and that number is definitely going to grow in the coming years. So what are some of the things that were added in HTML5? Very useful things, right? There's web storage, for example, allows you to store local data and persist some information in the browser. WebSocket creates a direct connection to another computer. Sandbox attribute. It's how a lot of plugins work, marketplaces work in this world, right? Sandbox attribute supposed to control JavaScript or inner frame execution. Canvas. Everybody played games in a browser, right? Most of these are Canvas. Canvas allows JavaScript to draw graphics, arbitrary graphics on a page. Geolocation, access to GPS data or some other location information. Access to hardware that the browser is running on. So these are all great, great attributes. Help develop better pages for developers. So let's talk about some of these things we mentioned. We're going to start with Sandbox. Anybody know what Sandbox is? Yes, Sandbox attribute? Good. That will be a quiz, by the way, at the end. So pay attention. As a reminder, same origin policy. That actually existed before Sandbox. Same origin policy means that an iframe will have access to the parent's DOM if it matches the scheme, host name, and the port number. It's basically page iframe originates from the same page as the parent, the same source as the parent. So a lot of websites use it, right, to embed different parts. Right, so in this case, let's say we have a page called CNN, and it wants to set background on an iframe because the iframe has the same origin. DOM access works. But if the iframe is of different origin, DOM access doesn't work. Yeah, great. However, this system kind of breaks down if you have a marketplace of third-party plugins. Right, think about it. Salesforce.com, Office 365 marketplace. There are third-party JavaScript or pages, HTML pages, that you want to serve from your site, but you don't want them to have access to the rest of the web page. So same origin policy doesn't work, and therefore Sandbox attribute was added in HTML5. Sandbox attributes negates this same origin policy, puts restrictions on what iframe can do. In fact, by default, if you sandbox the iframe, it cannot do anything, really. It's not a very useful iframe. It can be just displayed, can display static pages only. Can't run scripts, can do top navigation, doesn't allow forms, etc., etc. But you can relax restrictions in the sandbox. You can put attributes that allow scripts to be run and allow other things. So this is just a sample. Sandbox is relatively new. It's supported in IE starting with version 10. Recent Chrome and Firefox, of course, WebKit browsers support it as well. So what happens? By default, even though iframe has the same origin as the main page, if we sandbox it with default permissions, we get a JavaScript execution error. Basically, no scripts allowed. However, if we relax restrictions and we add same origin, allow same origin policy, then our scripts continue to work as they used to. Top navigate, right? That allows the inner iframe page to go up in the DOM and basically have access to the rest of the parent page. Without that permission, JavaScript in iframe cannot do it. So, however, since we're allowing scripts to be run and we're allowing same origin policy, a very simple JavaScript can go find top if we allow these permissions, and add permission to yourself to have top navigate, right? Well, just about relax any restrictions in the sandbox. So a simple combination of say SOP and scripts basically negates all the sandbox restrictions. Okay. Find top, add permission to myself, and boom, I have access to the entire page. So keep that in mind when creating a sandbox. Don't allow SOP and scripts at the same time, because that's essentially negating the sandbox. That was Sandbox. How are we doing? Doing great. Canvas. Canvas, love Canvas. It's, well, actually I don't, because I can draw. But our graphics people love it because they can, and that allows them to to escape the boxes of HTML5 and be creative. But we're going to talk about how simple cross-site scripting on one page can actually enable hijacking of the entire website. In this particular example, we're going to take screenshots of other pages on our website with a little bit of a twist. All right, so I want to, should I do slides or should I do live demo? I'll do both. So this is our bookstore login page. It's a pretty simple bookstore application. I can log in, get to my other things. But login page actually has a cross-site scripting vulnerability, which allows execution of any arbitrary script, right? Easy to miss, things like that. So the attack actually puts an iframe over the page. And for the purposes of this demo, we actually keep that iframe with a little nice border so you can see how it looks. But of course, real attack would have no border. And to the user, this would look like a normal login page, except it's hidden behind the iframe. So, to the presentation. If users are not really careful, then they don't pay attention to the URL. So the URL will remain the same, even though we're kind of navigating through your website. The attacker then gets a set of pictures, screenshots. And twist in the screenshot is that I can actually undo the password attribute on the password field and have a screenshot with a username and password sent to my server in Russia. I'll use Russia. I can do it. So how do we do it, right? We use Canvas. Right? Canvas actually allows us to walk the entire DOM of the page. So there's an open source script called HTML to Canvas. Allows, basically walks the DOM and takes a screenshot of the page. It's very quick script, and we're going to modify it a little bit to undo password attribute on the input field before taking the screenshot. So you see that these pictures have been taken every 2 seconds. And as I use my website, these screenshots will reveal the password that I'm typing here. Actually pretty neat. Let's see. Pretty neat technique. Actually allows you to learn how the page is structured, how the users navigate it, learn passwords, and then go attack it later. So it all starts with a simple cross-site scripting attack. Right? Cross-site scripting attacks, I guess, are common, typically harmless. Right? We kind of think that, oh, my help page gets defaced. Right? What's the big deal? Right? Well, the big deal is that you can actually, if you're not careful and you're not really thorough in testing all of your pages in your application, you can open yourself up to pretty significant attacks as well. So, what can you do to prevent it? Well, test your websites for cross-site scripting. All pages in your website for cross-site scripting. So an extension of that is, like we talked about how cross-site scripting can allow attacker to take screenshots of your page. It can actually be used for different purposes. It can be used to get behind firewall as well. So if the script that we inject in the page uses WebSocket, for example, can use to scan map the entire network topology of the page, because the server and of course executes behind the firewall typically. So I can take JSRaycon. Actually it's a website that allows you to do the mapping in normal world, inject it through cross-site scripting into a vulnerable website, and instead of screenshots, receive a map of your other equipment on the network. So again, not just web page. Other servers might be vulnerable to attack. So cross-site scripting is not only about defacing, right, web pages. It can be used for some advanced techniques. So great, efficient WebSockets, efficient protocol, can ping connect to any server, but at the same time can open a hole in your firewall bypass. Client-side business logic. What does that mean, client-side business logic? Means that we actually put a lot of logic in the JavaScript that executes in the client. It's very efficient. You save on server communications. You can do a lot of processing in the JavaScript. However, JavaScript that executes on the client can be easily tampered with. Right, so remember that. You push a button in a web browser, see the JavaScript, you can play with it. And I don't know how bad this oversecurity vulnerability it is, but it can be used to, for example, in the example that I'm going to show, it can be used to tamper with some data that comes back to the server. I'm going to play a movie because it's a tricky. Tricky thing to demo here. So everybody familiar with Pac-Man, right? You try to eat as many things as you, well, I see a lot of younger faces in the audience, maybe not, right? Although there's I think a Pac-Man machine here somewhere. So a lot of JavaScript games have their business logic on the client, right? So we can actually go modify the text, the code, to make sure that instead of, I don't know, what do they call those things that eat you? Ghosts. Yeah, instead of ghost eating you, you get to eat the ghosts. Right? So, the ghosts sometimes can get into this scared state where you can eat them. So it's a very frightened state, right? So very simple JavaScript code manipulation. And save. And when I'm going to replay the game, I don't actually have to do anything. I can just stand there, find these ghosts, and the ghosts will find me, except instead of so notice the high score, right? I'll just stand here and wait for them to come to me. And so a lot of people use the JavaScript and these games for promotions and marketing of some sort. High score, if you have the high score for the day, you win something. Well, I'm going to easily have the high score for the day and for life, and in fact, probably overflow the. So that's that's the business side, client side business logic. Right. All right. I wonder if that game machine is also susceptible to that. Maybe I should go try it out. Oh, geolocation. right? That's another interesting feature, kind of recent feature. Allows the web page to track your location, right? Of course, user is supposed to confirm or give access. But how do we trick users into giving our malicious website access to their location and to other things like web camera or microphone? Let me go to the demo. Oh, lots of pictures. So for the demo, we're gonna play a little game of whack them all. Right? The object is to push, to use the mouse to press a button, and you can see that it was written by an engineer. The buttons are kind of, the game is not very interesting, right? But of course, can be made more interesting. Right? So I'm going to click here, click here. But remember that we're using canvas, and what I'm clicking, what I'm using is not the real mouse pointer. Real mouse pointer is up there. Oops. Hi. I hope it doesn't end up on 4chan. But you see the idea, right? It's a little bit of social engineering and a little bit of engagement. Actually, the coordinates are pretty simple to calculate based on whatever the browser supplies, right? The screen resolution, type of browser, OS, things like that. And the user who's playing this game quickly actually won't notice that the pop-up went away, and now my simple game has access to your camera, microphone, location history, things like that. Well, there's really no way to deal with it except teach your users not to play games of unknown origin on the internet. I guess you can tell them to pay attention to the little permissions box that shows up. Nobody does it. Well, actually ahead of schedule, but the summary is that HTML5 and JavaScript bring new powerful tools, but with those new tools comes responsibility to use them wisely. So that's it. Questions, answers? Hope you enjoyed the demo.